Hi, fifth graders. You are flipping in fifth with me, Mrs. G. Today we're going to be talking about Topic 9, Lesson 1. And today's learning target is, I can find and write equivalent fractions. Here are some vocabulary words for today. Our first one is numerator. That is the top number in a fraction, and it shows the number of parts of a whole. Our next vocabulary word is denominator. That's the bottom number in a fraction, and it shows how many equal parts the item is divided into. And then our last vocabulary word for the day is equivalent fractions. Those are fractions that name the same amount but have different numerators and denominators. Go ahead and pause the video so you can write all of today's vocabulary in, and be sure to leave room for some notes. Here are today's notes I'd like you to write down. First of all, cross-multiply to determine if two given factors are equivalent. That's going to help you determine how to find equivalent fractions. Our next note for the day is to find equivalent fractions by multiplying, or you can find equivalent fractions by dividing. All right, let's get started with today's problem of the day. Mr. Whalen and Mr. Tomlinson are sharing a pizza. Mr. Whalen wants veggies on 3/4 of the pizza, while Mr. Tomlinson wants pepperoni on 7/8 of the pizza. So the question is, will they have the same amount of pizza? Let's go ahead and figure out how we would work this. Are 3/4 and 7/8 equivalent? That is the question we have. So here we have a picture of Mr. Whalen in a couple of years. And our question is, are 3/4 and 7/8 equivalent? Well, we are going to use cross multiplication to find the answer to that. So you're going to write 3/4 and 7/8. So now we need to cross multiply to find out if they are in fact equivalent or equal. So we're going to go ahead and put our arrows in, and our arrows are in the shape of a multiplication sign. So that reminds us that we're doing cross multiplication. So we're going to start with the denominator here, and we're going to start with the 4. 4 times 7 equals 28. Now we're going to start over here with the other denominator, and that's 8 times 3 equals 24. Well, 24 and 28 are not equal. This is our sign for not equal. It's an equal sign with a slash through it, so that means they are not equivalent. In fact, 7/8 is bigger than 3/4, and we know that because when we cross multiplied, 28 was bigger than 24. So you go ahead and try this problem. Are these fractions equivalent or not? Our fractions are 4/6 and 2/3. Go ahead and pause this video and figure out the answer to that question by cross multiplying, and then come back to see if we have the same answer. Okay, coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did you get equals? That 4/6 is in fact equivalent to 2/3? Let's find out how I got that answer. Well, I cross-multiplied, just like I told you to do earlier, and I started with the denominator over here. So 6 times 2 equals 12, and 4 times 3 equals 12. So let's look at some fraction strips and see if that's in fact the same. Here we have 4 1/6 fraction strips, so that's 4/6. Does that in fact equal 2 1/3 fraction strips? It does. That's another way we can check to see if our fractions are equivalent, is by using fraction strips. So now here is our big question for the day. How do you generate or write an equivalent fraction? Well, you could multiply or divide. So here we're going to learn how to create an equivalent fraction by multiplying. Here we have 4/6. So we're going to choose to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by any number, really. But here in this case, we're just going to multiply it by 2. It would work if we multiplied it by 4 or 6 or 8 or even 1,000,000, and you'll see that coming up. So we're going to, whatever we do to the numerator, we need to do to the denominator, because otherwise they'll get really jealous of each other. So here we have 4 times 2, which equals 8, and 6 times 2, which equals 12. So 4/6 is equal to 8/12. Now let's choose a different number. we're going to do 4/6, and this time we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 4. Well, 4 times 4 is 16, and 6 times 4 is 28. So 4/6 is the same as 16/28. So here, 4/6 is equal to 8/12, and it's also equal to 16/28. Now you can also generate an equivalent fraction by dividing. Here we have 16/32, and we need to think about what are the common factors for 16 and 32. In other words, what can we divide by 16 that we can also divide by 32? Well, there's lots of numbers to choose from, but in this case, we're going to choose 2. So we're going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. Well, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 32 divided by 2 is 16. So let's find another common factor for 16 and 32. Well, 8 we could divide both by. So we're going to divide the numerator and the denominator both by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2, and 32 divided by 8 is 4. So we know that 16/32 is equal to 8/16, and it's also equal to 2/4. Remember, you need to find a common factor, something you can divide both the numerator and the denominator by when you're generating equivalent fractions by dividing. So what would you do in this instance? We have 10/35, and we know that the denominator for our equivalent fraction is a 7. So how could we figure out what the numerator is for it? Well, we have to think, what did we do to the 35 to get to the 7? Well, what did we do? Well, here we divided by 5. 35 divided by 5 equals 7. So again, we need to do the same thing to the numerator, which is divide by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 10/35 is equal to 2/7. So here we've got 2/5. And we need to figure out what is the numerator here to make this an equivalent fraction. Well, we'll start off again. What did we do to the 5 to get to the 10? And we know that we multiplied by 2 in this case. So we're going to do the same thing above at the numerator, and 2 times 2 is 4. So 2/5 equals 4/10. Here are tonight's practice problems. For problems 1 through 3, I'd like you to generate 2 fractions that are equivalent. You could multiply or divide, doesn't matter. Remember, when you're dividing, you need to find that common factor first. And in problems 4 and 5, I want you to solve for the missing equivalent fraction. Remember, when we're talking about equivalence, there can be lots of options for answers. So if you don't get my answers, that's okay. Just make sure that you cross-multiply to make sure that they are in fact equivalent fractions. Go ahead and stop the video now, hit pause, and then come back when you are ready for the answers. Okay, coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So here are some sample answers. Remember, problems 1, 2, and 3, we don't have to have the same answers because there are lots of different equivalent fractions. But if you got an answer different than mine, I want to make sure that you can prove it by cross-multiplying. Then the answers for 4 and 5, well, that's really the only answer you can get. So 6/9 is equal to 2/3, and in number 5, 2/3 is equal to 18/27. So at the bottom of your page, I want you to write down how many you got correct. Remember, 1 through 3, we could have different answers, but you just needed to cross-multiply to prove you got it correct. If you did and it wasn't one of my answers, it's still correct. Then write down a self-reflection. Could you teach a friend? Do you think you got it? Or do you still have no idea how to do this? And then fill in the space with any questions you might still have for one of your teachers tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this video and Flipping in Fifth with me, Mrs. G, and we will see you later. Have a good night.